Welcome! Today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea from the Apostle Paul in Philippians chapter 3. It's a message that, honestly, challenges the very foundation of how we see ourselves. It asks us to stop and really think about where we find our true confidence, our real worth.
So let's just start right there with that question. Where do you place your confidence? Is it in your job, your accomplishments, maybe your family heritage, or just your own efforts to be a good person? This is more than just a theoretical question. It gets to the very heart of how we live, and it's the central theme we're going to explore together.
And that question leads us right into our first section, this idea of the trap of self-reliance. Most of us, if we're being honest, have a default setting. We tend to look for our value and our security and what we can do in our own efforts. We think if we just try hard enough, we can earn our place. The Bible is incredibly direct about this tendency. Long before Paul ever wrote his letters, the prophet Isaiah used this really startling image. He said that from God's perspective, even our best attempts at being righteous, when we rely on ourselves, are just not enough.
Well, the Apostle Paul actually gives this a name. He calls it confidence in the flesh. Now, he's not talking about our physical bodies. He's talking about relying on anything human for our standing with God, our background, how well we keep the rules, our personal achievements, any of it.
Okay, so with that idea in mind, let's turn to Paul's letter to the church in Philippi. And you'll see right away, he's not just offering some gentle advice here. He is sounding an alarm.
Paul's language here is incredibly intense. Repeating "beware" 3 times like this is something you just don't see anywhere else in the New Testament. It signals extreme danger. He's warning them about false teachers who were saying that external rituals were necessary for salvation. That last part, "beware of the mutilation," is a shockingly harsh term he uses to counter their obsession with circumcision, setting it against a true spiritual change of the heart.
And this is so crucial to understand. This wasn't some minor disagreement over details. These teachers were chipping away at the very foundation of the gospel. They were essentially telling people that what Jesus did wasn't quite enough, that you had to add your own efforts to the mix to really be saved.
So, in response, Paul just completely flips the script. He says true spiritual identity isn't about some outward physical act. No, it's an inward reality. It's all about a heart that worships in the Spirit and puts absolutely zero confidence in anything human.
And to make this point in a way that no one could ever forget, Paul does something pretty amazing. He lays out his own life, his own perfect resume, really, as the ultimate example.
And just look at this list. What a resume. Seriously, if anyone ever had a reason to be confident in their human credentials, it was Paul. He had the perfect religious background, the best education, and unmatched zeal for his beliefs. By any earthly measure, he was at the very top.
And yet, here's the radical shift. After he met the risen Christ, Paul's entire system of value was turned completely upside down. Everything he once proudly put in the gain column of his life's ledger, he now considered a total loss.
But he actually takes it a step further. Paul says he looks at all those things that used to be his pride and joy, all that religious pedigree, and he counts it as garbage. The original Greek word is even stronger. It means rubbish or refuse, worthless, when compared to the incredible value of knowing Jesus Christ.
This personal, dramatic accounting brings us right to the core of the gospel message. Because if our own attempts at righteousness are worthless, where do we find a righteousness that actually matters before God? Paul lays out these two completely different systems. On one side, you've got the righteousness we try to build ourselves through keeping rules and human effort. And on the other side, you have a perfect righteousness that comes from God. You can't earn it, it's a gift, and it's received simply through faith in what Christ has already done for us. Paul's ultimate desire, he says, is to be found in Him. What does that mean? It means that when God looks at him, he no longer sees Paul's flawed list of achievements. Instead, he sees the perfect, flawless record of Christ himself. It's a complete and total exchange. Now, this is a really important point to get right. This doesn't mean that what we do doesn't matter. The key is to understand that it's not our faith plus our works that saves us. Instead, it's a faith that works. A true living faith in Christ will naturally, inevitably produce a changed life and good works, not as a way to earn salvation, but as the beautiful result of it. So, if this is our new reality, what does this life of faith actually look like day to day?
While Paul describes it not as a destination we've arrived at, but as an active, ongoing, forward-moving journey.
He uses this incredible picture of a runner in a race. And for a runner, the focus is never on what's behind, not the mistakes, and not even the past victories. All the focus, all the energy is forward, straining with everything you've got to reach that finish line to get the prize. And that prize is knowing Christ more deeply.
And this knowing Christ he talks about isn't a one-time event. It's a progressive, lifelong experience. It's about knowing the same power that raised Jesus from the grave at work in our own lives. And maybe surprisingly, it's also about finding a deeper connection with him even in the midst of our own struggles and suffering.
And so, we're left with this, Paul's ultimate goal. This deep desire to know him, to experience his resurrection power, and even to share in his sufferings. This is the prize. This is the singular focus of a life that has placed all its confidence, not in itself, but in Christ alone.